Hey there, Stonewall teachers. I am going to show you the lesson plan template that I developed with your admin team to kind of adapt the school-wide one for special ed teachers. So I'm going to show you today a co-taught one and then also a pull-out one because you obviously have different things that you're focused on in your classroom. This does have the same components as your school-wide lesson plan template, but it looks a little different because it's been modified to include some elements of SDI and also just kind of condense it a little bit so that it doesn't seem like you have quite so many sections. So first, you have your standard like teacher grade level, week of subject, and I put the subject in because I gave you some little helpful hints throughout it. So you can put in your grade level standards here, and then I've linked some vertical alignment documents just to help you with planning and thinking through those prioritized standards. So here you'll list your learning target and or essential question. These could really be phrased as like I can statements, or the student will be able to. A lot of people abbreviate that like however you want to phrase it there, but you want to make sure that you're aware of what your focus is for the lesson and what your students need to be focused on throughout the lesson. Then here in the mini lesson section, I've put the time too. We want to make sure that we're limiting our mini lesson, our whole group time, to really 15 minutes. So activate prior knowledge. Again, that was on the whole school-wide lesson plan template as well. You want to state your teaching point. Today you will be learning, or today I will be teaching you. Here you also want to consider what SDI you might use, what accommodations your students need, and really consider your co-taught model. Preferred co-taught models include alternative station teaching, small group station teaching, and sometimes team taught, but we really want to limit one teach, one assist. And we kind of want to limit team taught because it's just not as responsive to our students' needs. So right here, you might write parallel, you might write alternative station, or you might write small groups or station teaching, something like that. And just to make sure that you're aware of what model you're using. And then here we have skills-based small groups or guided reading. However, you're scheduling that for the week. And I'm not saying that you have to have 2 small groups. That's just what I put in for ease of use. But let's say you only have 1 small group. Let's say you have 3 small groups. Please feel free to edit this document. This is not an uneditable document. So you can use it as you need to. Learning stations and centers, that might look like iReady, that might look like a vocabulary station, a phonics station, just making sure that you're aware of what the stations are in your classroom, which of course you and your co-teacher will have discussed likely in your grade level planning. And then this is something that we'd really like to move toward as an SEC department, and I talked to your admin team about this as well, is really intentionally planning for what IEP objectives you're teaching and collecting data on. So you might know that Monday you're going to focus on 2 kids, Tuesday you're going to pull 3 other kids, and you want to try and do that within this teaching time. However, realistically, sometimes you may have to pull outside of that time. So just be aware of that when you're planning what IEP objectives you're targeting and how you're going to teach those. Not just collect data on them, but actually teach them. And then, of course, the closure to your lesson. You may have some sort of assessment, which could also be embedded in these other sections. A ticket out the door, some sort of formative. And then you want to consider having sharing opportunities for your students to discuss or share what they learned. And that could be like a 1-second, tell me something as you leave the room. That could be we're all sitting in a circle together and sharing, a strategy we used today during reading. That could look different in every class, but just being aware of that and planning for that, that is part of what your admin team is looking for when they come through with the checklist that they sent out to you guys. Similarly, in math here, we have some similar components. I've included a number talk, which your admin team is aware, of our learning on that and wants to push for that as a whole school as well. Again, your mini lesson is going to be 15 minutes, and I included some resources here for you that we discussed in our math PD. And again, here with the small groups, feel free to edit it. You might have one, you might have three, but you want to think about what skill am I focused on? What methodology am I using? So are you using concrete representational abstract? You should be using manipulatives, no matter your grade level, to build conceptual understanding. And then also considering what IEP objectives can you target during that time. Just like with reading, you may want to separate that out. You may want to include it. Please feel free to edit it as long as you keep that component of IEP objectives. And then again, we have stations and a closure to your lesson. For ELA, again, we have similar components. Here, you may be using small groups, you may be conferencing with students one-on-one, and so the timing would look really different, but feel free to adjust this if you need, to plan like however you typically would plan. And then I also included science and social studies section for you. Just be aware of like what co-taught model you're using and then what your instruction looks like. You may need to pull small groups. You may want to, support students on the carpet during whole group, just kind of planning for each day and thinking about what your students need. I'm going to show you the small group lesson plans as well. And this is similar except for I've included the standards alignment to Lindamood Bell instruction. And then I've included a Seeing Stars section. Remember that you should be getting through letter imagery, syllable cards, air writing, and decoding every single day. If you're not completing all of those, components of Seeing Stars, then you're not doing it with fidelity. So please, please, please plan and make sure that you're getting through all of those sections each day. Otherwise, it's really not going to be effective. I also included a small group here. However, if you're doing Lindamood Bell, you may or may not get to that. So don't feel pressure to just fill it out just to fill it out. If you're only doing that once a week, or if you're only doing that if you somehow get extra time, go ahead and write that. Don't feel pressure to be compliant and just fill out everything. Please use this as you need and as is appropriate for your class. Also, if you have stations that you're planning for, or if you have a para who is supporting you, it's always good to plan for what that para will be doing. They can really support you with data collection, with another skills-based group. Even though they can't really support with Lindamood Bell, they can do a lot of other things in your classroom, so planning for what your para is doing is super important. And again, we have IEP objectives and closure, just so that we're meeting the requirements of your school as well. Here for math, it looks very similar. Again, feel free to edit as needed, but you need to have a number talk, you need to have a mini lesson, and then you need to have some small groups in addition to that. ELA, again, looks very similar to co-teaching. The only difference is you don't have a co-teacher. And that's about it. I'm going to send send both of these to all of you. And just make sure that you're using this. Your entire admin team knows that you are using this template and not the school-wide template because you're not gen ed teachers, you're special ed teachers. So including those areas that you need to target as a special ed teacher, your admin understands the importance of that, and they're totally fine with our condensing these other things like activating prior knowledge and the closure. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out and I can try and answer those. And yeah, my last day is Thursday, so please reach out before then. Or you can always text me too. As long as I haven't had the baby yet, I'll still text you back. But okay, love you guys. Bye.